here is a Maxi Lift. This is used for someone that requires dependent care. It'll allow you to complete a dependent transfer from their wheelchair to a mat table or a bed or a tub, where an alternate surface, wherever you need to go. So it has very similar features to the Sarah Lift that we discussed in a previous video. So you can see here that the machine is off because red is pushed in. I turn the green on and it's on. It has features that can be controlled either through the remote control here or the panel. So I can raise it up, down, and open and close the legs with this button here. These lifts are all battery operated, so if the machine starts to beep, that means that the battery is low, and you can change out the battery. That.
So now we'll do a demonstration of our dependent lift or our Maxi Lift. This lift is used with someone who is not really able to physically participate in their transfers and they require a lot of assistance. Remember, we don't want to be physically lifting and moving people, so we're using a piece of mechanical equipment to help us. So a person using this lift is not going to be able to stand and bear weight. So we're using a green large maxi sling for Tony. Make sure that you are using the sling that's in the person's guidelines. In this case, it doesn't matter really which side goes against him because the seams are the same on both sides. So to get the sling behind Tony, I'm going to bunch it up like this, and then he's going to lean forward. I'm going to assist him if needed. And then you're going to start tucking it down as far as you can. The goal is to start to get it underneath his bottom. So you're tucking that down. So remember, these Maxi Lift slings are a little bit more streamlined. They're only measured really from the top of your head to like halfway down your bottom, so they're not going to cover everything. So you're just starting to get it underneath his hips. Then we'll lean back. So a person who uses a Maxi Lift will almost always use a tilt style wheelchair. That's for pressure relief, but it's also for positioning and to make it easier to get a sling on and off and get them in their wheelchair safely. So Tony's got the sling behind his back. I'm going to tilt his wheelchair back. Make sure you're talking to the person throughout this process too. Now we're going to undo the seatbelt, get that out of our way. And then we're going to take the leg pieces and get them underneath each leg. Remember, you want to be careful that you are not pulling the sling against their skin because it can cause things like skin tears. You want to make sure that you're being gentle and you're lifting the leg. Sometimes these lateral supports can get in your way, so just take your time, get it unbunched. And you want to make sure that these leg pieces are not twisted and that they're flat. This chair is a little bit small for Tony, so we're just making do with it. In a person's regular chair, you'll have a little bit more room to maneuver. So you have two options here. I'm going to show you your first option. You're going to keep the person tilted, and then you'll bring your lift in and transfer. So this can be going from wheelchair to bed, wheelchair to recliner, wheelchair to a mat table, anything like that. So we're going to keep this chair tilted. I've got the lift turned on. I'm going to hold on to the handset, and I'm going to stand here because then I'm able to maneuver the controls and have an eye on Tony and the lift. You always want to have your eye on the person and make sure that you're not moving the lift into them or hitting them in any way. You want to make sure you're paying attention to everything. So we're going to bring the lift in here, and then we're going to lower this. Always paying attention to the position of their arms. Tony's helping me out by holding on to these. Usually the person you're supporting isn't going to do that, but they might. Always encourage people to participate where they can. So once you get down low enough, Pay attention to the position of their arms. You can hook the sling on. Again, you should feel resistance and hear a click that we talked about. And you don't want to be trying to pull up on here, right? You want to bring the lift down to the person. This is to reduce strain on you as well, so you're not having to work as hard. Okay, and then give everything a double check, make sure that it's on securely. And then, so depending on the person, you'll either have one person or two people to assist you with this. Just make sure you're following the person's guidelines. So we're going to go over this mat table. We've got everything hooked up. I'm gonna let Tony know that we're going up. I'm gonna keep my hand here. It's a point of contact to keep the angle of his body adjusted. So we're going up. So the wheelchair brakes are on, but the lift brakes are off. This allows you to make sure that Tony is staying centered inside the lift and that the sling is staying centered on him. So once you get to this point, you're gonna roll. I'm gonna narrow the base of the lift with the legs. We're gonna go over to the mat table here. You want to make sure that you are going all the way into the center so they're not too close to the edge. And then let the person know they're going down. You might have to help with their legs, help support them. Again, the lift brakes are off, so Tony's staying centered in the lift and it's adjusting as we go. Paying attention to the position of this bar, make sure it's not getting too close to their legs. Make sure you're not lowering the lift on them in any way. So you only have to lower them until you get enough slack on here to remove the clips. Again, you don't want to be pulling up on these clips. You want to make sure that there's enough slack on them so that you're not straining yourself trying to get them off. Once you have those unhooked, you can lift this up. Make sure you are lifted high enough so that you clear the person. You're not going to run into them. And then you get that out of the way. And then at this point, you're able to assist them with whether it's like hygiene or if you're just getting them into bed, you would want to roll and get the sling out from underneath them. So now that we've showed you how to do a transfer from a wheelchair to another surface, we want to show you how to transfer from a mat table or a bed back into a wheelchair. So Tony has a sling underneath him already. We're going to show you how to get the sling underneath the person when we do our rolling video and bed mobility video. So we're going to just lower the lift down. Again, you're looking at the person, making sure that the lift is not getting too close to them. So I'm gonna do the upper part first. It doesn't matter if you do the top or the bottom first. You wanna just make sure that you have enough slack on the sling that you don't have to pull up. So I'm gonna lower this just a little bit. And remember, you're not crossing the legs. Make sure you feel resistance, hear a click, and that everything is secure. And then we're going to get ready to go up. So before you get someone up in a lift, you want to make sure that their destination is all set up for them. So in this case, the wheelchair is parked, the brakes are on, and it's tilted all the way back. You need to make sure that if someone uses a tilt wheelchair in a Maxi Lift, that their wheelchair is tilted back. It's almost impossible to get someone in their chair in the right position without tilting it. So you're going to raise them up till you can clear the surface that you're going to. And I have the legs of the lift open all the way. So you can approach from the side of the chair like this, or you can approach from the back of the chair like this. You're just making sure you're getting the person centered with their hips all the way back. So I'm gonna bring the lift back here. So you'll find what works best depending on the person and the environment that you're doing this in and the type of chair that they have. So then we're gonna go down. You're supporting the legs. The lift brakes are off and the wheelchair brakes are on. So you're adjusting that position as you go, making sure they're centered and all the way back. You're gonna lower them until you get enough slack on the sling to remove the clips. Raise this up, make sure it's high enough so you don't hit the person. And then at this point, you're going to do the legs first. You want to do the legs while they're tilted back because then they're unweighted from gravity. That's a lot easier to get the sling out from underneath. You're lifting their leg, making sure that you're not pulling against their skin in any way. You also might want to just start making sure that it's not stuck on any laterals or underneath their bottom. You can start to untuck it here while they're tilted. And then you're going to put the person's seatbelt on. Sometimes they get stuck down in the wheelchair. So especially with these padded seatbelts, you want to make sure that it's on snug. And that's to make sure that the person's hips stay all the way back in their seat. So if you see a padded seatbelt like this, make sure it's on snug. You should just really barely be able to fit your hand underneath there. And then at this point, you can sit them up. And you're going to start to get the sling out from behind them. So you're going to help them to lean forward and really make sure that you are not pulling the sling against their skin. Use a second staff to help you with this if needed. One staff can help the person lean forward and the other person can do the sling. Again, always make sure that you are reading the person's guidelines for all the details.
So today we're going to be talking about the Maxi Lift and how to troubleshoot if you're having a problem during a transfer. So you're transferring someone to a mat table and you notice that the lift doesn't move down anymore. You then have to question, is there something wrong with the battery? Did the battery go dead? Was the lift making any noises? Generally, if the lift was making beeping noises right before you started the transfer, it means that the battery was most likely low. Therefore, you can just take out the battery from this lift and put a new battery in. If that doesn't seem to be the problem, check to see if your remote still works. If the remote wasn't working, you can always check to see that the jack is plugged in. Also, if you notice that there's any fraying in the wires or anything like that, then make sure to report that to OT and PT immediately so that we can get you a new remote and order new parts for the lift if needed. If you still can't get the lift to work with the remote, you can always try using the panel in the front. Lastly, if you still can't get it to work, you can always just try turning the lift on and off, so red, green. Still no luck and the person is still midair, then what you can do is pull the emergency lever. So the emergency lever is the red clip up here. You push the red clip up, you pull the pin out, and then you turn.